Hi guys, Michael Cromwell here with PCGmedia, and I'm here with Bill Beacham, who's the design director for Nosgoth. So tell us a bit about Nosgoth.
So Nosgoth is a competitive team-based game based around the concept of humans and vampires fighting each other for supremacy in the world of the Legacy of Kain franchise, which is called Nosgoth, hence the name of the game.
So we heard that Nosgoth was originally going to have a single-player component as well, but that the development for that was canned, and they chose to focus more on the multiplayer development of it. Is that true? Is there any truth to that?
Yeah, but I think we've publicly stated that was the case, so I don't think that's a particular secret. Yes, we were working on a single-player and a multiplayer component in parallel. The single-player, for various reasons, it wasn't what we wanted it to be. So then we were faced with the decision of, okay, what do we do? Yeah. So when we started, we always knew that the multiplayer game was going to be a very kind of self-contained element. Different characters, different maps, different gameplay mechanics, different period in history even. Obviously, there are thousands of years of history to play with, so that wasn't too much of a stretch. So when we looked at where we were, we went, okay, this isn't what we need it to be right now. This is really good. This has got a lot of potential. Do we dare do this? Yeah, because obviously it's there's some controversy attached. Yeah, and we knew that was a potential issue, but we felt that the game, as it was, and certainly now, after finishing the first stage of that development, it absolutely deserves to stand on its own. And even back then we were thinking, okay, different people. Some people will want one bit and not the other. Okay, how do we facilitate that? Do you buy the single player game and get a code for the multiplayer game, and you can just get the multiplayer game instead if you want, and it's digital? We were looking at lots of different ways of getting the content to players based on what it was they were interested in.
So is it the classic tale of, you wanted to do one thing really, really well rather than, two things and half-assed one?
Well, I mean, there were different development teams, so it wasn't necessarily a case of one cannibalising the other in terms of efforts. So I don't think that was the case. It was simply a case of, you've got two dev teams, each doing what they do. This is working. So, leaving aside what's going on with this one, is this a valid game in its own right? And the answer was yes. Do we take it on the chin that there's going to be some potential negative feedback? Yeah, that's the price we pay. But if we didn't believe in the game, we wouldn't have. Obviously, we couldn't have done that.
So, how's it evolved since its original sort of single player and multiplayer package? What have you done since you decided to?
So, I think, to be honest, the core of the game is still absolutely the same. The original design, the characters that are in the beta now, the characters that we've shown you today, the characters that we've got in development elsewhere, that's all still part of the original design. That hasn't changed. What has changed, I think, are things that two things. So there's the stuff that we thought this is going to be great up front, and we tried it and we iterated on it, and some of it was great, some of it wasn't. That's game development. That always happens. Maybe somebody somewhere writes the perfect GDD out of the box and makes that game, and it's all great. That I have yet to see that. The other thing that's changed, I think, is that it kind of just freed up the team at Psyonix to just make the best possible multiplayer game, because you don't have to worry about kind of overlap or what if this impacts on that kind of thing. You can just go, okay, for this game, what's going to make the best, most fun product? The best experience for the player, and they could just focus on that. So in some ways it kind of, we went, look, if there's anything that you thought of secretly but didn't tell us just in case, tell us now. And there were some additions, there were some changes, but nothing that, it's still the same game that we started work on all those years ago.
So we've been playing Nosgoth for a couple of hours now, and it's going to be a free-to-play game. We'll get into that in a moment, but in that couple of hours, one of the most interesting things about the game for me is that it's sort of range versus melee, as you spoke about before. And because of that, even though it's in a convoluted market, free-to-play third-person games, it is pretty unique and it's pretty fun. And I like what you've done with the Legacy of Kain franchise. I'm a huge fan of that franchise.
Yeah.
And first couple of hours, no pressure to really grind or upgrade, sort of just clean, simple fun. Now, but it is a free-to-play game,
Yep.
And obviously you want to make money of it. So how are you going to do that?
So yes, you're right. We do. You know, we're a games publisher, and you know, Psyonix are a games developer. You know, as much as we might like to just make games for the fun of it.
Yeah, I don't think anyone has a problem with developers making their money.
Absolutely. So you know, and this is what we need to make sure happens. So at the same time, you know, Psyonix from day one were very adamant that it can't be pay to win, because if we do that, we just drive the game into the ground. You know, you might make a short-term profit, but long-term, it's a no-win move ultimately. So then the challenge came. Okay, how do we make unlocking content meaningful? And then it's a case of, okay, I play the game and I get you know, a new skin, I unlock a new class, I get a variant ability or a weapon. It comes with bonuses, it comes with penalties to keep the game fair and balanced. There are perks in the game that we give you for free, so you don't have to buy them. The vast majority of content can be unlocked, can be earned through playing the game, and that's fine. As a publisher, that kind of scares me because you're right. Original question. That's great for players who've got the time and the energy and the dedication to spend that time getting to that content. On the flip side, not everyone has that time. People are playing different types of games on different media. They're doing other things than playing games.
So we're looking at XP boosts and
so this is where
into
XP boosts, for instance, as with a lot of free-to-play games, you know, boosters are something you pay for, and that's the choice that you make as a player. If I want to level up and unlock the next character class, two ways of doing it: time, or by going to the shop and buying the booster. It doesn't short-circuit that per se. It just makes it a bit easier. Now, with the rest of the content that is there, you can choose to buy it, a lot of it, but it's optional. You can buy it with your, you know, you can come to it through leveling, through random drops. You can come through it to in-game currency, and that's, for me as a player, and this is what we're always trying to think about: is what would the player, at what point would the player stop playing the game because we've put an artificial barrier in the way to them making that progression, getting to that content, you know, having fun. If we put a paywall in, very easy thing to do, but it's the wrong thing to do. And so ultimately we're looking at what other, for us, there are market leaders who make lots of money and churn through players. Fine. And then there are market leaders who have a fan base equally successful, have a fan base that like them, enjoy the games they make, they want to support them, they want to be part of their ongoing.
So are those history. The guys that you're trying to build a community and hope and sort of hope that community gives back by buying cosmetics, XP boosts, and that sort of thing, but nothing that would undermine gameplay.
If we undermine gameplay, then we've gone wrong.
There are a lot of developers who have made that promise and still underline gameplay, and I'm sure you're aware of them.
Yeah.
So what kind of things? What would you consider a bad idea? Just quickly.
So you're playing the scout, you're playing the sniper class, and you want an awesome longbow because you want to shoot enemies. Here's an awesome longbow you can buy that lets you do more damage. That breaks the game, because then someone who doesn't have that bow, someone who's on the receiving end of that bow, you're having a great time. For me, you just shot, that sucks. I hate you, rage quit. So that awesome bow that you've got needs to come, okay, you do more damage, but your draw time is massively extended, or the clip is smaller, or whatever that may be. There's always a way to balance what we're giving you so that it's your choice. If you want to be the best possible sniper in the world, you want that one hit, massive damage, fine, you can do that, but it comes at a price.
So you're selling sort of technicalities. People people know how they want to play, and they've played it for a long time, and they want something very specific.
Yes. Yeah.
But that specific thing will come with a sort of a downside.
I think it has to, because otherwise it's pay to win, you know. And the perception of pay to win can be as damaging as the reality. As soon as people think it's not fair, that becomes a reality. So we need to avoid that just as much. And that's where we talk to the community, we look at the metrics, we talk to our fans, we're play testing with that. You know, it's an ongoing process, and it doesn't always go perfectly. I think if you ask any free to play developer, you know, there are things that you look at them afterwards and go, we course correct. You patch, you change numbers, you change figures. That happens. Every big successful free to play game now started in a very different form, and it grows over time. And that's so we have plans for Nosgoth. Obviously, you know, we have years of content planned. Not all of that is going to make it into the game, because at some point the community is going to go, we don't want what you're thinking of, we want something else. And it's our job as publishers and to work with Psyonix developers to go, if that's what people want, as long as it doesn't break the game, because some suggestions will, obviously.
Some people want to spend
game design. Yeah, game design is a delicate art and a science, and you need to be really careful about this. You know,
so it sounds
everything
like
that we do, we're really just trying to be very aware of all the repercussions. And if we get it wrong, we need to go, you know what, we got it wrong, we're fixing it. And we need to have...
So it's something that's going to evolve and react to what the community wants and what's going well and
yeah.
how much income it's generating and stuff like that. So it's about staying true to the community and to good game design.
So as an example, we reached out to the community quite early on because we knew that, you know, they'd be concerned. So we identified, you know, key figures in the community. People who've been keeping the franchise alive through websites, through conversations, through forums, you know. Maybe hadn't met each other, and we brought those key guys together in our office. And these people have been talking to each other online for 10 years and never met. So, you know, they get to meet each other, which is, you know, it's pretty emotional for them. And we get to sit down with them and go, and outside the publishing and the developing, you know, we explained what we were doing, why we were doing. We showed them the characters. We talked to them. Some of them now are our biggest fans, you know, which is great. Some of them might never be. You know, we're never going to convince everyone in the community as a whole that this was the right thing to do.
So it's a game that's built from player feedback. And
yeah. So I talked to it. So the point of this was, the one thing they said was, okay, we get what you've done. They liked the look of the game overall. It's a nice vision of the world. We get that the vampires aren't the vampires we know. It'd be nice if we could see them in a way that is more familiar to us. And so here we went, okay, that's really good feedback. That's a perfectly valid concern. So we talked about it, and we reached out to a guy we were already talking with, Daniel Kabuko, who was the art lead on Sorry from some of the previous games. He invented some of these classic characters, and, you know, a massive proponent of the franchise as a whole and a massive advocate for it. And so we went to him and went, look, would you be interested in designing some new characters for us? So that there will be skins for each of the vampire classes that we have in the game. That, you know, they're not quite what you've seen. They're a hybrid between this, you know, slightly more contemporary art style, and what you've seen before. And that's a fan-driven initiative. We wouldn't have done that if the fans hadn't asked for it.
Well, we saw your presentation. It does take place in the timeline of Legacy of Kain, which is literally, as you said, thousands of years.
Yes.
So there's a lot for fans. It's quite a departure from the original games. Obviously, it's a free-to-play multiplayer game, but, you know, it seems fairly designed. We'll have to see how it evolves and things like that. But I'll have a written preview up on the site quite shortly. But yeah, certainly something to jump into. And is there a price point for release? Because I know it's in early access.
So
is it going to be completely free straight away?
Yes, so we're in closed beta at the moment, and that lets us stress test everything. You know, the less exciting stuff, the back end, customer support, interactions with Steam, the mundane stuff. We need to stress test that. And, you know, we go from internal development, closed alpha, closed beta, when it's to do that with increasingly large groups of users from around the world, obviously, you know, where our servers are, ping times, we need to be aware of all this. At the same time, we're refining the gameplay. We're getting so much feedback, actual metrics, and then also, you know, community interaction on the forums. The developers are on there, we're on there, we're talking to these guys. And when all that's ready, which takes an indeterminate amount of time, unfortunately.
You'll
I'd love to give perfect dates to internally as well as externally. Yeah, there's those questions are asked. Then when we're ready, we will be launching. We have a target date, yes. I'm not going to say what it is because it might change. There's no point in me telling you something if we're not sure of it.
Fair
It will be when we think the game is ready, and we're confident enough that when as many people as we hope are going to come into it, they're going to have as good experience as
well, if you do want to be part of the early access process, I think it's $11.99. Is that the right price?
So you can. There are founders packs which you can guarantee you can get in. You can sign up. We're letting new players in all the time, but that needs to be a gradual process. As I said, we need to be careful that if we let everyone in at once, something will break.
Yeah.
We need to go through that learning process. If you want to get in straight away, you can. If you want to wait, fine, wait. It will be free.
Okay, great. Well, that's Nosgoth, guys, and we'll have a preview up for you in the coming days. So, thanks a lot.
Thanks very much.
Bill.
Cheers.